Thank you for joining us for Leaders Want to Know, a leadership development podcast. I'm Monica Moore, Educational Specialist in Leadership Development, and I'm joined by my colleague.
I'm Carrie Najum. I'm also an Educational Specialist in the Office of Leadership Development.
We are super excited to welcome Executive Director of the Office of Professional Learning, Jenny Cunneen. We're going to hopefully get a behind-the-scenes look of the Planning for Leadership Kickoff. So thank you for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you, ladies, my former teammates, for having me. Now I know you have some questions for me, but first I have a question for you, ladies.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
How did this podcast come about? This is the first year we've ever done this.
Oh, it is. It is. So we are definitely trying something new. There are so many people who want to share important information with leaders. And we were trying to find a way for everyone to be able to access that information. There's only a certain number of days and sessions that we can have. And so we wanted to put some UDL in place and ensure that everyone had information that they needed.
Yes, this is Leaders Want to Know, which is a spinoff of Leaders Need to Know, that none of this information is required. But those that like to keep up on what's happening should tune in and hear from division leaders.
Yeah, and if this is something that if people are interested in hearing more, we would love to do more segments. So give us your feedback.
Yes, please. I will let you know. I have let a few people know that this was an option. They saw the button on the website that it's coming soon, and a lot of leaders got very excited about different ways to access information and delineating what was critical for in-person, but how can they still be in the loop on all these things? Right. So thanks for all your hard work planning, and thanks for having me.
Well, it's been fun. All right, so the question that we get most often about Leadership Kickoff: why do we go to Hayfield Secondary School?
I am so glad you asked that, because that was a question that came up last year and came up in the feedback, and I realized we didn't tell people why. So the short answer is it's the only FCPS building that can fit us. We work with Vicki Garner's team, a lot
Summer
of the
Grid.
Exactly, everybody knows who's coming to your school, but that office really has the data on every building. How many seats in an auditorium, how many parking spaces, how many large rooms like lecture halls. And so that's the only building that can fit us all, at least in the auditorium. If we went to the other side of the county, because some people said, could we rotate around the county?
Right.
We could, but we'd be sitting in bleachers. So nobody wants that.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So even though it's close to my house, that's not why we pick it. It's the only place that we can all fit in one space. It's the largest auditorium in FCPS.
So tell us about the parking considerations, because that has to be something that you have to plan for as well.
Yeah, that's one of the flip sides. So if I go back a little bit, those who've been around as long as we have know that for many years we used to do our leadership conference, which was one day, sometimes a half day, at a different location. We used to have a larger audience, and we used to go to George Mason. And it was wonderful. We had parking, there were more bathrooms, there was lots of opportunities, and it cost, even back then, about $36,000 to rent it. So it was not, the last few years, it's just not a fiscally responsible decision. We know our leadership is focused on raises and jobs and what's most important. So we said, that just doesn't make sense. So that was the shift to FCPS building, which started our work with Vicki in space. However, we know there's some downsides to that. Even though we can all fit in the auditorium, we can't fit in the parking. So what we are doing is, again, like last year, asking folks to work together. The more we can carpool, the better. We have some satellite parking lots at Edison, at Island Creek, at Lane, some neighboring schools, and thank you to those principals who've been really welcoming. But we did get feedback that we need to increase the shuttles. Last year, the shuttles kind of went from school to school, so people were waiting. So now we have our partners in transportation having more buses that will continually to loop to them. Right. So we know it's not the best. It's the wise fiscal decision, and so we're just really grateful to folks who will carpool, or even if they all drive to Lane, drop their cars, and then one person just drive across the street kind of thing. So, yeah, it's, there's always opportunity costs.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a little bit about feedback. Can you talk about how you use feedback to plan for the conference besides just the space at Hayfield?
Yes, absolutely. So we are so grateful that, our role behind the scenes is kind of take the vision from Dr. Reed and leadership team and what is the message and how do we bring it to leaders. So feedback has been going on throughout the process. That's actually what led us to taking it from multiple events throughout the summer to 1 week, because that's probably a question too,
Yes.
right? Last year was the first year we kind of consolidated it all. And especially for school-based leaders, they had all these, we remember when we were principals,
Yeah.
had all these different things throughout the summer. We had region kickoffs on one day. We had our leadership conference. We had leaders need to know. We had different things. And feedback was it really made it hard for school-based administrators because they were out some days, their coaches or their SBITs, everybody was out on different days. And I remember looking at the calendar and saying, team, we have 3 days we're together before our own kickoff. So that started, can we just consolidate as much possible and then try to leave folks alone as much as we can? So that led to this. And then we have a leadership development network, as you know, that has over 100 school-based operational leaders, administrators. We kept bringing session topics to them. What do you want to hear about for choice sessions? Help us with logistics. Going to our different principal associations. Marcy, our department, has a principal advisory group. So we're constantly asking for feedback. Again, there's never a perfect answer, but hearing diverse perspectives helps us even tweak a few things like the shuttle or put a phone number in case I'm at the shuttle and I don't know who to contact.
Right.
All that. And then the feedback forums last year. Like we were so grateful. Hundreds of people gave feedback. And I know it's hard. You'll be like, oh, I'll do that Google form later.
Right.
But we really read and synthesized that feedback to help us tighten it up. So
Well, I
please
think
keep doing that.
Our goal at the end of the day is to make Leadership Kickoff Week the best it can be for the people who are attending.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And operational and instructional leaders need different things too.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's something that we really tried to make sure that we're not just catering to one group over the other.
What was the feedback around keynote speakers? Will we have one again this year?
We are really excited. And that was another thing that we look at, again, being fiscally responsible. And so we are really grateful to our partners at Apple Federal Credit Union.
We love Apple.
Apple works with Educate Fairfax and that team, and they've given us a grant for a keynote speaker this year. And they also provide a great grant for Leadership Kickoff, Great Beginnings Summer Institute. So we're not using any operating funds, but
Yes.
Apple has allowed us to bring back a keynote. And we're super excited to welcome Dr. Shelley Moore, who is an expert on inclusion and universal design for learning. So a lot of leaders might have seen her little videos, those 5 more minutes in the UDL training. And so we'll be able to have her all day. She'll do a keynote in the morning, which will be really generalized around inclusion, not just in classrooms, but inclusion in our workspaces.
Right.
And how do we remove barriers for staff? And then an afternoon workshop that is a little more instructionally focused on, what can leaders do to support inclusion in classrooms. So we're
That
really
sounds
excited.
Yeah. And will leaders have choices this year on sessions, or tell us a little bit about what they can expect?
That's another thing that we tweaked based on feedback. Last year, there were a lot of sessions that were all highly rated, and there was a lot more choice for our participants. Actually, some people thought there were too many choices. And so this year, but feedback also said, can we knock out more of our required trainings? You know, as leaders, there's so many things that are required by VDOE or our school board. So this year, there'll be an increase in required sessions, but still some choice. And then as always, all the materials will be accessible on the Google site so that people can follow up later.
Well, Jenny, it was so nice of you to stop by. We know you're so busy with planning for Leadership Kickoff Week, and it's really great to have this time together before the big day, the big week. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up?
I think the only last thing that people ask about is the reduced audience. I don't think we
Oh.
talked about that. And so
Yeah.
one thing that was hard when we moved back to Hayfield was having to limit the number of folks because we're not at Mason. So we did kind of limit it to C scale and above, and it's school-based administrators, but with the goal of arming departments and schools with all the materials to then turn around and share it with their staff as well. So that was something that we were really mindful of. But we want to make sure the message gets to everybody.
All right. Well, thank you, Jenny Cunneen, Director of the Office of Professional
Executive Director.
Sorry.
Just
She
for
hasn't
today.
moved her office yet, so until the
Bigger
Executive
thanks goes
Director.
to this amazing team, the brains behind the operation who have been working so hard from making sessions to all of this. these are the folks that are making Leadership Kickoff happen in the rest of our
Excited to
team.
support our leaders.
Yes. Well,
Thank
if
you
this
for being here.
continues, come back again and we'll have another episode.
I can't wait for next week.